And we're here. Yay.
Yes.
We can put it in like on a pillow. Here we are.
All right, Travis, we're doing something new.
Oh, what are we doing?
I'm gonna hit record.
Oh, right away.
Hit
All right.
record. Go ahead.
Right, without counting down?
Go ahead. Hit record.
All right, I hit it.
Hey, Travis, how you doing?
Hey, Greg, how are you doing?
Been a while.
It's been a minute.
What, two weeks since we've done a show? Maybe 3?
Close to three. But I think we've had these kind of weird breaks. But life happens, man. Life happens.
Life does happen, and I won't explain what happened to me, but let's just say that life does happen.
Life does.
Life does happen, and it was pretty slow up until we took a break during a pretty slow period anyway. But I think the news has just kind of sped up, so we have a lot to talk about. And I think the bulk of this show, Travis, I mean, we'll get into stuff quickly, I guess. But I think the bulk of the show is probably going to be talking about the M2 chip and also the M2 MacBook Air. Yes. Right? Like, that's the new thing.
100%.
Have you seen one in store? Have you?
No, I mean, I stay at home. I'm a hobbit now. But the thing is, and the thing that breaks my heart about the reviews that I have seen is that the color, midnight blue, which looks fire on video, apparently is a thumbnail magnet, thumbprint magnet, which crushes my dreams. And I keep thinking, well, first of all, I don't need a thing, but like, is there a clear something you can put over it so that you still see that wonderful color and you just don't get the fingerprints, almost like a screen protector, but for the outside?
I don't know. That feels like $1 million product right there, Travis. I feel like you need to go invent that, and then you can just retire after that, because I feel like
I just did invent it.
I feel like they buy that. I don't know. I feel like putting something like plastic over it would just make the fingerprints worse. Listen, you accept the challenge. Oh, I almost dropped this. You accept the challenges of the midnight color, and it does get fingerprinty. It is so dark though that it's not that big of a deal, I feel like. But yeah, this thing, you might want to handle it with gloves if you're upset that it's gonna have smudges all over it. I really like the color though. I feel like it's such like a breath of fresh air. I said in my video, it doesn't scream MacBook when you look at it. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. It's a very like honeymoon period kind of thing where it's like, oh, it's new, how exciting. But it's quite a different look that we're used to from Apple laptops. So that is kind of cool to have. The other concern though, Travis, that I saw people talking about was that they're saying that the paint on this might like chip pretty easily.
What?
Because when Apple has done dark metal finishes in the past, it has not ended up well for them. Like, apparently, like if this thing like chips, you'll see the bare aluminum color, like that silver color, you'll see it so easily because it's such a dark color. And they used to have problems like that when they did I think it was like the iPhone 5. It had like a really black like aluminum on it, and that thing would like chip the paint off so easily. So I've seen a lot of comments in my videos going, oh, I like the color, but there's a chip. And then I saw people, this is crazy. It's like conspiracy theory, Alex Jones style stuff. People on like, I posted like a picture on Twitter of the new color. As soon as I unboxed it, I got people circling in red things that they think are chips and going, what's this? And I'm like, that is a piece of dust. You are like a little too crazy.
It almost makes me think about the color wrap website we were looking at for a while there, but then you'd have to send it away. So you're kind of, look how fancy you are with your little cappuccino thing looking thing.
Yeah, that's my espresso. I really need it. I need to be caffeinated for this show. Travis, just a quick side thing. I was off caffeine for a whole week. I didn't drink any coffee. Travis has spent some time with me. He knows I'm an avid coffee drinker.
Yes,
I was off it for a whole week. So
that's incredible. Right? Why?
Yeah. I just felt like taking a break. I was like, I feel like I don't get the effects of coffee anymore. Let me take a break for a week and see if anything major happens. And I'm sad to say, nothing has changed.
That's what I was going to say. But first of all, is it enough time to have felt a difference versus like, but you felt no difference? Like you literally just don't feel any more energy or less energy or anything like that?
No.
Okay. That's pretty good.
I don't know. I feel like my body has already been chemically. I probably have like stores of caffeine. I'm like a camel. I got some like pump in my body that's just secreting caffeine from the past of all my life just drinking coffee. I've been drinking coffee since like 4 years old. So
That's just weird. Okay, here's the thing. Let's talk. Okay, let's go back to M2, but let me interview you about the M2 because I don't have one.
an interview.
I'm going to interview you.
I've waited for this moment.
Because the thing is, yeah, I mean, I've interviewed famous people, so you better, this is
I'm the most
this is your moment.
famous.
Well, maybe. Okay, so here's the thing. You've done a couple of videos with the Air, and of course the Pro, and M2. You know some M2. We now know a couple of things about the M2 and what holds it back versus what the potential is, and it seems so far that to really get the full potential of M2, which maybe would have been, which would have, because I feel like with the walkaway, with the walkaway from this entire first generation of products is you can just do an M1 and be okay with it and save the money. Is what it feels like so far. And I think this is Apple's fault for messing up and not designing these laptops with apparently dual channel hard drive, SSD, instead of just doing one. Like, so I guess part of the first thing is there. Of course, the other thing is 16 gigs versus 8 gigs. But I think what you're seeing the most difference between them has to do with the storage that you choose. So that's number one, which of course worries me for the iMac because I am now an iMac like lover. So the M2 would be something I'd be interested in. Now it also worries me if that would even be a thing on the new iPad Pro. I hope that's also not a thing. I hope that it's not a concern for the M2 iPad Pro because that would just be weird. And I just want to say that I understand that for 99% of the people out there, and especially for people that use MacBook Airs, I would argue most MacBook Air users will not see a difference between the M1 and M2. Do you disagree, Greg?
No, and I say that as a good thing. But the M1 is still ridiculously fast. It was a huge change. The M2 is a very incremental upgrade, and it really doesn't matter which machine you get. They are both very performative. That's the thing I keep trying to remind people in my videos. Even if there's criticism I say about the M2 chip or a decision Apple made like lowering the disk speed, which I do think is unfortunate because I hate any regression in technology. I know if I was to, maybe I'm not, maybe I'm researching tech more than the average person, but I would hate to have a regression in tech where I was used to something before. So I get that, but at the end of the day, these are all really great machines.
Right. And the thing is, okay, so and Renee is doing a knowledge dump in chat. So if you are listening to the audio podcast, you might want to come over to YouTube. Basically the gist of it is that for the longest time, and this makes sense obviously, is that the storage of one chip was largely, and especially for the cost, 128, but now they can do it with two chips. I'm sorry, they can do you would normally need two 128s to just do it in one 256 and so on and so forth. But what that does is it unfortunately cripples part of the capabilities of the M2. Now, again, I will argue, and I shouldn't have to argue this because I think in the end, what my overall thinking of this negates this, but most likely if you're a MacBook Air user, you will not see a difference. It's just going to be the same kind of great kind of experience.
Yeah. I mean,
right?
Yeah, I will say these are great laptops, but there are differences. I did a video today
I'm going to get to that in a second. Okay. I want to start here, right?
Yeah, you want to be positive first.
I want to start here.
Yeah, right? Yeah. No, they're good, and I think I understand the decision of why they probably did this. We are going through chip shortages. Yep. They make all the other configs can kind of go off of each other. So with the 256, you put two of those together, that makes 512. You put two 512s together, that makes a terabyte. You put two of the terabytes together, that makes 2 terabytes. And the only MacBook, the only M2 Macs that have this problem are the base model. So I can see from a component standpoint why Apple decided to do this. It's probably for the supply chain. It's probably going to enable them to make more of these MacBooks, which they need to sell. And I think at the end of the day, people want to buy these things. So if they have more supply readily available, that's ultimately a good thing. I think also, and maybe I don't have enough information to kind of base something. If I wanted to spin this in like a positive way, you might be able to argue that with one drive, maybe these are a little bit more reliable too. Like you're less likely to have a disk failure on them because if you have two 128 gigabyte drives, there's 2 chances for failure there. If one of the 128 gigabyte drive fails, that means the other drive fails as well because they work together in kind of like a RAID 0 arrangement. So if you want to be positive about that, you can go, oh, maybe these will be a little bit more reliable too with a disk failures. But
I mean, that's one way of looking at it. I think
that
if
is a
you
way
look
of
at,
looking at it.
I mean, it's an apologetic way of saying it,
Yeah.
but not untrue, not untrue. The thing is, so this is the way I look at it, because I feel like I'm more of an outsider in this now. I don't feel like I'm really in the tech space right now, kind of saying anything, and I have not mentioned anything about my thoughts about any of this. So this is kind of new. Um, I will go back to what I said last time, which is there should be no scenario in which the M2, which is a 2-year newer processor, should ever look worse than the M1. Never, not any situation, period, end of story. I know that there are architectural reasons why that's the case, but my argument is that that should not ever be the case, period, end of story. Having said that, I understand why these base models, you could also argue that, well, you kind of want the base models to be base performance, and then if you pay a little bit more, you get better performance. Okay, I guess. But I think this was a bit of a stumble. And I'm going to say that if someone had really been paying it, because what they did is they had this incredible first blow, the M1. Everyone was excited about it. And I told you one of the things that annoyed me most about the M1 is everyone was going, they can't wait for the M2. Like I that actually annoyed me. Then you had the the Pro and the Ultra and like all these really great things. All these like, oh my God, it's better. Oh my God, it's better. Oh, you tape two of them together and it's even better. Like these great things. Now you actually have this sentiment that, is there overheating? Is there a slow, like whether or not parts of that are true, it doesn't matter. As soon as it's said, especially by any creator on YouTube that has any kind of significant kind of following, the sentiment is there. And now you've dirtied the name. Apple messed up. They should not have, if they didn't know this, which would be kind of weird, like how would they not know that this is a thing? I'm going to assume they knew and just were like, it'll be fine. There's only 1 or 2 circumstances where it's a problem. The problem is there are tech YouTubers out there looking for those problems. They're looking for those problems and they're going to find them. And now the sentiment across tech YouTube is going to be M2 is And it has all it was literally a choice. It was a choice of this thing, this one aspect of it. Now, for me, I don't care because I'm not buying any of them. So I honestly don't care. But I feel like they stepped in it. And now we got to see what they do next. Like, is the iMac going to start at 256 and have that same thing? Like, are they going to do the same thing for everything else that has M2? Is this going to be an
Probably.
iPad Pro problem?
It's all the
See,
same
better
chip.
not.
It's all the same chip. So yeah, it will.
Yeah, but I'm not talking about the chip. I'm talking about the storage.
But it's all tied together. The chip and the storage, it's all one kind of thing. So I believe it's all going to be, they're only making this type of M2 chip. The 256 gigabyte configuration on all these, on any future M2 Mac is probably going to is going to be hit with that same thing, unless of course they up the base model, which I think they probably should by now, to 512 gigabytes. Yeah, I think the most unfortunate part about this is, let's say the M2 MacBook Air came out and it was $999 and it had this little regression here with the disk speed. I don't think it would be that much of a kerfuffle. But they did raise the price by $200 for the machine. So you would like to think that maybe they could have sacrificed a little bit on their margin and even bump the base storage up to 512 gigabytes. The MacBook Pros, they come with 512 gigabytes as standard, and those got a big price increase when they were released. So I understood that. I'm like, okay, they're giving you more for your money here because they're upping the drive. The MacBook Air also received a similar price increase. I know it has a new design, so that's going to be more expensive to manufacture, but it doesn't have a lot of the more expensive components like the new MacBook Pro got. It doesn't have the mini LED display, which added quite a, I think the old 13-inch model was like $1799. So that alone added almost $200 to the price point on the new 14-inch MacBook Pro, but they still managed to give you a bigger drive. They still managed to give you 16 gigabytes of memory as standard for those laptops. I think one of the biggest issues with these M2 machines, because they start at this higher price point now, you start making some decisions. You say, okay, I want the faster speed and I need more storage. I'm going to pay 500. I'm going to get the 512 gigabyte. Okay, I need a little bit more memory. I'm going to get 16 gigabytes of memory. I'm going to get the full M2 chip. And all of a sudden, you're looking at a laptop that is $300 away from the Pro model. And that's a lot of money to spend on this consumer level laptop. I really wish my biggest criticism of the M2 Air, it is maybe one of Apple's best laptops that they have ever built, but it is also expensive. And I get, all the economy. There's a thing called inflation. Like these were going to go up in price, right? But it is unfortunate to see when you had that uh, M1 MacBook Air come out almost 2 years ago at this point, and $999. It was just a steal. It was such a good value that you would love to see that continue.
Yeah.
And it doesn't in this one for me.
Speaking of price, Gary Everyday Dad says in chat that if the price started at $13.99 for 512, the videos would be about the price hike. But that's a thing that falls away really quickly with sales and stuff. It's a very temporary argument, whereas this essentially follows the M2 forever. If you get the 256 version, you're getting the ghetto version, and price drops or anything don't change that at all. This was a move that is going to, in some people's minds, dirty M2. Now, will M2 Pro or Max everything fix that? I would assume so. But and by the way, can I just say another little hot take people might not like? I liked the original design. I'm not talking about the screen or anything. I liked the almost teardrop design of the original Air. This new one looks like a MacBook Pro or something, which is fine, but it's not. That's not why I like the Air. I liked the little kind of thing that kind of touched. They kissed each other. Greg, they kissed both sides.
I got you.
I liked that.
Yeah, but that was like the illusion of being like thinner. This is like actually like all the way thin all around. It's really nice to hold. It's a nice design. You got to see one in person. It's really nice.
I'll go see one. I'll go to
yeah. You should go to an Apple store. Check out that midnight color. See if you can. You go up to the Apple store employee and just be like, "There's a lot of fingerprints on this. You know, I have an invention I want to introduce into your store."
No.
I want to get back to some of these controversies because I feel like my job is to give potential buyers as much information as possible. I feel like right now in tech YouTube, there's kind of two sides to the coin. There's the people that are taking every single controversy and blowing it way out of proportion because I'm using this machine daily. I'm editing 4K video on it. Like, this thing doesn't have a fan in it. It probably shouldn't be able to. If you had like a Windows laptop equivalent, it wouldn't be able to do this. And it's not heating up. It's only heating up in benchmarks that are kind of synthetic. But it's important to let customers know that as well. You want to let them know that there's a slower disk drive. You want to arm them with as much information as possible so they can make the right decision. I've said things in my videos, and I have people in my comment section going, well, Apple really messed up with this one. I'm going to get a Windows laptop. And I just have to reply back, I don't think you understood my video. Even if this has some flaws over the previous generation, it's still a great machine. It's still better than any Windows Ultrabook you're going to buy in the same kind of weight category. So don't take that away just because there's some increased scrutiny on this M2 chip. And I would also say, with this overheating thing, the M2 chip definitely gets hotter. It definitely throttles a bit more. But at the end of the day, it's giving you more performance. Apple had so much headroom with the M1. I think the controversy would be bigger if they just released. There was a rumor for a little while saying they were going to release the redesign and just put an M1 in it. So I would rather take this chip that gets a little bit hotter when you're really pushing it, but it still gives you more performance, which is what you want out of these machines. So that's fine. If they couldn't get to the 3 nanometer chip design, if they'll do that next, it'll be a bigger upgrade there. But these are still upgrades. These are still faster. That's the important part. They're still faster. They're still super efficient chips. Like, we as reviewers at this point, we're kind of nitpicking because these laptops, and most tech is so good. We have to find these little things to look at and go, okay, well, there's a slight issue here. There's a minor issue here. There's a price increase here. But is this M2 MacBook Air a bad laptop? Absolutely not.
So here's the thing. So we got, of course, Renee Ritchie, Everyday Dad, Trent Tech in here. Matt Ancini from says something that is so true. True.
Whoa.
Yeah, this is. The M1 is so good that it makes the M2 look disappointing by comparison, which is pretty amazing. And that is true. Because, and by the way, when the M1 came out, we spent a lot of time on this show talking about, like, wow, for a first time out, this is amazing. And for anyone to think that they could have done just as much of a leap forward from 1 to 2, I mean, if anyone can do it, Apple can do it. But it was like, it was going to be kind of hard for them to do. And it makes me wonder what M3 could bring to the table. Like, how much better can 3 be more than 2? To me, I think the difference and the real power on this will be in the Pro and Ultra and Max, kind of iterations. Like, I think those, because as you start to multiply them together, I believe we're going to see some really amazing things from that. The base chip, the one chip, I wonder if we're just going to see these 10 to 15% kind of increments in better performance, but maybe battery life is the next kind of real the battery life thing is always the best battlefield to win on because everyone understands it. And it's a benefit to everybody who's using mobile. Like if you can ever win the battery battle, you win. Doesn't matter the performance is that much better or not. If you go, look, you can have your laptop for 7 days. But it's the same speed. Who's going to say no to that? I could give you an M1 laptop today that lasts 7 days. Are you going to say no to that, even though it's the speed of the older one? No. So a battery life, I think, trumps all because we're at a processing speed now that we're doing ridiculous things with these things. Fanless 4K editing, which was a pipe dream just a couple of years ago. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see what they do, but I think what we're going to see, I hope what we see is that the real difference in performance comes from the M2 Ultra and Max and all that stuff, I think.
Yeah. And again, to kind of go with your point, we were talking with when M1 came out, we were all kind of having this conversation of, well, these are really powerful. Do we really even need more power? We've been saying, do we need more power with iPhone? Do we need more power with the Max? And the M1 was such a revolution for Apple with their chip design that, the M2, if you think about the M1, you put all those expectations on the M2, it was probably never going to live up to what everyone wanted to see. Like they were expecting double the speed performance again, like they got with the old transition. That's just not going to ever happen again, unless Apple transitions to some other kind of new technology, which probably is not going to happen for a very, very long time, if it ever happens, which probably maybe one day. Let's address the real controversy. You see my video today?
I saw part of it, the controversy of your little jokes you put in your video, because that was controversial. I'm halfway through it right now. I love your jokes. I love your little breaks.
People like the jokes.
What was it? The grease guy or whatever you were talking about off camera.
The grease guy.
The guy for your hair or whatever. What was he? I thought you said the grease guy.
The gel guy.
Gel guy.
That's a different video, I think.
Oh, is it? Do you have another one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what is it?
So I did, I was the guy doing the silly little benchmarks and nitpicking
with the controversy.
everything,
I didn't get to see that. So tell me what happened. Spill the beans.
So this is the real controversy. So we're talking about all these things, M1 versus M2. At the end of the day, M2 is better than M1, right? But here's a real controversy for you. And I got to preface this by saying this isn't going to impact every workload, right? But as Travis said before, when you have an upgrade, you expect it to be faster in every single way, no matter what you're doing. And, Macs aren't really meant for gaming, right? But I was doing some gaming benchmarks. I did it on Shadow of the Tomb Raider. And there's two different versions of the M2 chip inside of the MacBook Air, right? There's one with an 8-core GPU, which is $100 less. And you pay $100 more, you get a 10-core GPU. The 8-core GPU slightly beat out the 10-core GPU in performance. The 10-core got so hot benchmarking that you can watch my video. It starts off scoring faster. Like it's getting frame rates that are like 45, 50 frames per second. But like 30 seconds into the game, it starts dipping.
Starts throttling.
And it never recovers. And the 8, even though it's kind of, it start out lower, it's staying steady through the whole benchmark. It's staying the same. So the real controversy for me, I feel like this should be on the front page of 9 to 5 Mac Rumors. Where's my stardom? I discovered something. I expect it to be internet famous at this point. No one's quoting me. No one's contacting me for email for interview quotes. I feel like that's a big controversy that you could spend $100 more and it performs worse.
That's bad. Again, I feel like
it's specifically for that upgrade too. It's specifically for the GPU upgrade. And listen, there was tests I did where it did perform better, but I feel like it has to perform better at everything.
I've been saying that's my thing. That's my whole thing about M2 versus M1. Like it always has to be better. That is another instance where this feels like a lack of attention to detail from Apple. Like, why wouldn't that be the first thing that you test? If you have more GPUs, do more GPUs thing. It seems to me if they did do that, they did it with the wrong things, or maybe this is the one thing where it doesn't score better. Maybe there are other programs where that's not the case. Maybe that game specifically doesn't do well, and you have other. Of course, not like just like a crap ton of Mac games, but maybe there's other ones that don't. But I still feel like it should be the edges of the edge case, and even then, it shouldn't happen because we waited over 2 years, and then when we get this, and then you say, okay, well, look, this one's $100 more. I can't stand that. Whenever that is probably the thing that triggers me the most. I can't do it. Oh, Matt says, I ran into that issue with the old MacBook i9. It ran noticeably worse than our i7 because of throttling. It's just throttling. But it's a GPU. But the thing is, it's not that he has more CPU cores. He has more GPU cores. We don't even know that all the GPU cores are being used. Well, I guess they would be, because why?
I believe they were, because it was scoring higher in the beginning, and then all of a sudden it got hot. It got too hot, and it just had to throttle it down to keep it cool. So let's say you were doing like a render and you're using it for like a minute, like a render. That 10-core GPU, you'd probably see the performance improvements. But if you're playing like a game, that you're not playing a game for a minute. Like I made that point in the video. You're playing a game for like an hour. It's going to get worse performance. Probably an awful example to use. Who's gaming on their MacBook Air, right? But it's still something that it's a real world thing. I get people all the time that are like, does the MacBook Air run Sims? That's all I care about. It needs to do all these other things. And it also needs to run the Sims. So like, there are these people out there. I know people are thinking these people don't exist, but I see them in my comment sections all the time. It's always like one very niche game that they want to work. They want to know if this extra $100 is going to be an improvement for them. And it's very rare that you have to go, if you spend $100 more on an upgrade where you should get more performance, you could potentially be in a situation where you get worse performance. That is really strange.
I just look at this whole thing, and I understand that it's like the controversy that, some people are kind of tired of it. I know Gary is kind of tired of it. I know Renee is kind of tired of it. And I respect both of them for kind of just backing out of it. I think they've both given their 2 cents on both Twitter and on their videos. And I think that's great because I trust both of their kind of testing methodologies and their knowledge on it. I trust that. And I can understand also, because if I was still doing tech stuff, I would be like, I don't know. I would have to start dunking on things, and I don't even want to do that. So I feel like I get that. But again, to the point of the beginning of this, is like, people need the information as we learn more stuff about this. It just feels like, to me, and people are completely welcome to disagree with me, that Apple was not as attention detail oriented with this release as they probably should have been. And these scenarios that are coming up, you should know that the tech YouTubers are going to expose it. And some of these larger tech YouTubers are going to expose it to a large group of people who will now back away from these things. Now, is it going to affect your MacBook Air? No, probably not, because people buying MacBook Airs are probably not going to be that person who cares about all of those things, right? Again, the MacBook Air is aimed at a different person than the Pro and the other things, right? But still, you just don't want to have the bad. I mean, think about it to this day. We're still talking about butterfly keyboards. Years later, like, people trashed that entire product line because of the keyboard. And it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth because of the keyboard, despite the fact that they kind of fixed it in a weird way-ish, right? Years after or whatever. Like, once you mess up on a product and it gets a bad taste, like, you gotta just push on, get out of there as fast as possible, because you're not going to be able to turn it around. You're just nothing you can do. I don't know.
Yeah. Listen, I think nuance is so important, and I think it's something that modern tech video stuff really lacks. I always feel like it's always like, this is the best thing, this is the worst thing. How dare Apple? And I kind of parodied that in my video. I did find a controversy, but I made fun of it because it's not like the biggest deal in the world. Again, I'm just trying to give the potential buyer as much information as I can.
I agree with that.
But I also tell them that these, like, I'm nitpicking in some instances. Would I recommend the 10-core GPU model if you want to play games? No, save $100. But you can still buy that 8-core model. You're going to be very happy with it. You're going to save $100 too, which is, I think, a big win for the customer if they don't have to buy this upgrade. That's always a good thing for them. So I've really been enjoying the M2 MacBook Air. I do want to say that, like, because I know we're talking about controversies and stuff like that, but I think this is one of, like, the sleekest laptops that Apple has, ever made. It's so lightweight. It's like I want to ditch my MacBook Pro just to carry this around. And honestly, like I can video edit on this. If I upgrade the memory to 16 or 24, like this thing shouldn't be able to handle some of the tasks I throw at it, and it does. And it doesn't have a fan. Like it is ridiculous how good Apple Silicon is, even if the M2 gets a little bit hotter. But it's still a performance upgrade over the other M1 chip. And it still has great battery life. The screen on it's still really good. It got even I think it's like 500 nits of brightness. I was using it outdoors. It was really nice. Adding MagSafe back was a nice touch too. It frees up the other two connections to connect peripherals, which I actually had to do for my video because I need to charge and then I needed to connect a Thunderbolt drive, and then of course this doesn't have an SD card reader, so I needed to attach that adapter too. But hey, there was a situation where I actually needed another port, and it worked out well. So I recommend this thing. Like I would say, if you don't care about design, like if you could go into the store and you look at the M1 MacBook Air and you look at the M2 MacBook Air, and if you look at both of those machines and you don't care about the design, you're very practical, you're like, I just want it to run, I want it to be good, I want it to have good battery life, get the M1 machine, save $200. But if you're like me and you're like, well, I want the latest thing, I want it to look good, I'm going to keep this for the next, 5 or 10 years. I don't know how long these things are going to last, but you're going to keep it for a long time and you want to be happy for the long haul. Well, you're getting the new design. This design's probably going to stay with us for over 5 years. I think you're going to be very, very happy with this machine because it is still super impressive.
Yeah, and now my thought turns to the iPad Pro, which everyone knows I love the iPad Pro, and now I worry that I'm going to be forced to buy the 512 gig storage version.
You should be buying that anyway.
But I've never had to. 256. The 256 was always my upgrade, right? So
yeah,
that was my upgrade. Now I feel like I'm going to be pushed into 512, which is I don't know how much money that's going to be. Although I'm not editing my videos anymore, so maybe I won't have.
Well, let me tell you the bright spot, Travis.
All right.
Let me tell you. I'm going to make you happy. Ready? Ready for this?
All right. Okay.
If Apple makes the same decision with the iPad, that means they won't be using two 128 gigabyte chips, which means the base model will be 256.
That's true.
So any extra money, you would get the 512 and you would go, oh, look at this. I'm upgrading to that price and now it's 512. So I think either way, you're going to be happy. They're either going to keep the 128 gigabyte and then they're not going to source the separate 256 gigabyte drive, or they're going to go, well, our supply chain, we're using only this single 256. So that's the new base model.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you're right. I would be up for that. We'll see what happens. I mean, it just makes me kind of nervous because I wonder if the attention to detail for some of this is kind of overlooked. What else have we? And again, the attention to detail, fingerprints. Come on. I like that color. I kind of want that laptop just because of the aesthetic, but I won't get it because of fingerprints.
Do you think they'll do a midnight iPad Pro?
They don't usually match colors other than the base colors. Yeah, other than just the base, like, what is it? The ugly base colors that they normally do, the space silver or whatever the hell it is. Like, other than base colors, they never do that. Now, and even if you look at the Air, this just came out, the Airs, which are finally like really beautiful. Like, those don't really match anything, really. Like, I think, what is there? 1 or 2 colors maybe match the iMac, maybe. I can't remember some of the colors, maybe 1 or 2, but they don't tend to match them as much as you would hope. Like, I would like to have the ability to have an iPad, an iMac, and a MacBook Air that are all the same color. Like, why can't I do that?
I mean,
I guess I could get like cases and stuff for them, but what if I don't want to do that? What if I want to just have a badass?
Different products require different design. I mean, let's not forget when we first heard about the M2 MacBook Air, they were saying, oh, it's going to be the same colors as the iMac. And we probably should have been smart and went, well, Apple never does that.
Yeah, right. Exactly right.
We were fools. I look at this midnight color and I think this looks like a pro color. Like I'm like, when the new MacBook Pros come out, is this going to be a new color? It looks super like,
it looks classy.
Stealth,
yeah.
It
looks classy. I like it. I when I saw it in your video,
nice.
It looked really nice.
I would like an iPad in this color. I mean, with an iPad, I wouldn't even be too mad because I'm more concerned about the fingerprints on my screen half the time than on the back of it where I'm not really looking. So that might actually work out to work out pretty well for the iPad. I hate that about the iPads. It's always like you wipe it off and you're like, okay, it's clean, and then like you use it for like an hour, you come back to it, there's smudges all over it. That's hard for me to ignore.
And Cini makes a joke about dbrand, but I'd like to see what they're going to end up doing with the MacBook Air. Like if they could just match the color again with one of their things, I think that would be good enough for me. I know we got to cut this one short, so I just want to talk about one more thing, unless you want to have one more thing about this, because next week I definitely want to talk about some stuff. But is there anything else?
If anyone has any questions about the M2 MacBook Air, leave them in the chat. Maybe we'll try and get them to the end of the show. But what do you want to talk about, Travis? What,
just really quickly, because I know that you have to go. So I just want to mention that I'm not looking for you to pat me on the back or anything at all. But I did allow Greg, I think one of the only people outside of myself and the editor, to see the first 20 seconds of the first video on my new channel. It's not tech. Now, without any kind of puffery or anything, and being completely honest, without trying to either make me feel bad or make me feel good, be honest, Greg. What did you think of what you saw? Of course, it was only 20 seconds, but still, what did you think?
I can give you a backhanded compliment, and I give you,
just tell me what you would say.
You want the backhanded compliment?
If you don't know who I was and you saw that, what would you say?
I would say that this video is perfectly targeted towards the audience it should be hitting.
There you go.
That is what I would say.
You know what?
Because I will be honest with you, Travis. That is not probably what I would like to watch.
Sure.
But I also know what average people like to watch, and that is definitely the style. As soon as I saw that, I went, wow, I appreciated it. Like I went, that is really good. I can never do that. That is super attention grabbing. That is super fast. But I also don't like those style of videos.
Which is good.
Yes.
Because I'm trying to get away from the tech viewers. Other than the people that support me. You like boring stuff.
I like boring.
You like to watch turtle videos where they just walk across the video screen and just go real slow.
No.
No. Because I'm glad you said that, because you say it's a backhand compliment, but it's actually a super compliment, because I am trying to get away from kind of the more drier stuff that I just wasn't happy doing on tech anymore. So that's actually a really big compliment. So I appreciate that.
I'm glad that you wouldn't watch it. Are you going to tell people about your new channel?
Yeah, eventually. So I can't.
You think so?
I will.
You're not going to do it like organic.
No, I'm going to do organic at first. I'm not going to say anything for a while. I'm actually going to launch it and then not say anything on social media about it at all, and let it sit for a couple of weeks, and then I'll mention it later for people who want to find it, because I'm getting messages from people on Twitter and on my even on old comments on my YouTube channels like, "Hey, what's this new channel?" And I because of the way YouTube works, you have to kind of be careful with that stuff, which is kind of a pain in the ass.
Yes, unfortunately, you do.
You really do. And Gary, the Everyday Dad, who's in chat, can attest to this. It literally, and the thing with Gary's channel is really interesting, is that his channel is parallel to tech. Like you can draw a line between his old channel and his newer channel. I can't. There is no connection. There's no connection. So it would be a train wreck for me to do that. So for the people that are really interested in me and want to see me try and do something new, 100%, I will do that. Things like on GadgetCast and then in my live streams, I will. But other than that.
Yeah, I've always thought about that too. If I was to do another channel, I'm like, I don't know if I would tell people. Maybe I have another channel. Maybe I'll have like 3 channels and I have like 10 million subscribers on each of them, and tech's just like a hobby for me. You wouldn't know. YouTube's so weird. I discover like channels that have like 10 million subscribers all the time. I'm like, I've literally never seen this person before in my life, and they are like a big deal.
Exactly.
It's like, that's crazy.
No, you're exactly right, man.
So maybe one day you'll stumble across Travis's channel. You'll be like, 10 million subscribers. I used to watch this guy. Oh.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. He's saying, am I going to travel across the country? Renee says, I'm going to travel across the country and deliver you a penny. Why would I wouldn't even bother to do that with Greg.
Deliver me a check for $1 million. Where's that video?
You wouldn't open the door.
The penny guy. Find a new thing. No more penny. How about a nickel? Have you considered the dime?
Take it to the next level.
How many pennies can we do? Ultimately, that is the problem with YouTube. It is people want to see the same thing over and over. People want to see that the M2 throttles and the M3 throttles and the M4 throttles. Okay. That is the problem with YouTube. And that's why people are sick of it. And that's why viewership is down, because we make the same videos over and over again. I just dissected YouTube, but it's also the successful YouTubers. They make the same video over and over again. The successful TikTokers make the same video over and over again. We as a society are creatively and morally bankrupt. It's all over. That was from the heart.
Oh my God, that was deep. That was deep, Renee.
It was deep, but I feel like if you ask any creator that, and they would say, you know what, you're 100% right, Greg.
Exactly. It's funny because Renee is just joking about some things, and he's actually came very close to one of the subjects of one of my future videos without knowing it. I'm not saying recent in his recent tweets,
You
but
should
like,
challenge Logan Paul to a boxing match. How about that for a video?
nah, that's all right. I'm not a. I mean, I
You
would
should
grapple him.
challenge Andrew Tate to a MMA fight.
Who's
Yeah.
Andrew Tate?
Oh, he's a big deal on like TikTok.
Oh, is he? Sure, I would do it. I see.
He's
That would be a
cool,
thing.
but
If I ever got really like popular or something, and I wanted to do, if I would never do boxing, I would do MMA because then I'd take him down, choke him out. But
you should challenge Max Tech to a throttle showdown. See who throttles first.
The throttle showdown.
Yeah, you should challenge Andrew Edwards. You should finally give him a piece of your mind.
Well, yeah, I can never find him when he's in. I
Yeah.
can only ever see him in LA and Vegas, so it's kind of funny. All right, well, look, we gotta go a little early today, but we'll be back earlier. We can do like a 2-minute like aftercast, so people that are in the live stream, of course, y'all get a little bit more of us. But for those in the audio podcast, we appreciate you greatly.
This is short but sweet. You know,
Yeah.
you got a taste. We had a pretty decent live showing today for being off for like 3 weeks. So that's good. And listen, you'll come back, you'll miss us, and you'll come back. That's the thing, right? If we stayed here for 3 hours, you'd be like, I'm sick of these guys. I don't want to listen to them again. So it's short.
I mean, maybe. Anyway, leave us, whatever those things are on Apple Podcasts that gets us to for more people to see us and stuff.
Leave us a star and a review.
Leave us not just one, do all 5 of them. It's free.
Yeah, do all 5.
Do all 5. And of course, if you want to see the live stuff where we do things in person, you should go to our YouTube channel. A link should be in the show notes, I think. Hopefully. All right. Well, look, for the people in the live stream, it's time. Everyone else, bye. Where did Gary go? Everyday Dad was here.
Once I said everyone was creatively bankrupt, he took a
He was eating oatmeal and then left.
He said, not me, Greg. How dare you compare me to you?
Because here's the thing, like if I had known that Renee and Matt,
you would have been like, why aren't you on the show?
Yeah, just come on in. I mean, why not?
Come on in.
We all gonna have them
all these heavy hitters just sitting there. And
imagine they come and watch us.
Eating their oatmeal.
Gary eating his oatmeal and Matt and Cini with
Gary eating oatmeal for dinner. That's dedication.
Matt just passed like a thing, I think, through his pee hole. What are those things called? Those bladder things. Those little. What are those things called? What did you do, Matt? No, he had a problem. Matt, what did you do with your pee pee? I bet he left.
That is not family friendly.
I will definitely clip this and then send it to him on Twitter if he's not
monetized.
Yeah, who cares? I still have that banner across the back that's like, you need to, put this information in if you want monetization. I'm like, nah, too lazy. I'm way too lazy.
What do we think of Johnny Ive no longer working for Apple?
Yeah, kidney stone. That's it, Renee. Do we care? I think that he had that je ne sais quoi that can't be replaced. But what are you gonna do? Can't force him to work there. Yeah, passes kidney stone. Yeah.
Great. I think Johnny Ive did a lot of great designs. I feel like people are upset about him for like maybe a couple of years of bad design, but he did a lot of good at Apple. So, yeah. But he was already doing just consulting for them at this point. So I feel like he was already not really helping too much, probably.
Yeah. I mean, at this point, we do more for Apple than I think he did.
Yeah.
All right. Well, look, we can. Maybe we'll have people. Maybe we'll have. Renee's always in here. He's such a great person, dude. Dude supports us all the time. I love Renee. If he wants to come on next week, that'd be amazing. I just feel bad ever asking him to come on because I'm like, why would you lower yourself to come on with us? Like, why?
Yeah.
So, but if he wants to lower himself and slum with us next weekend, he could do that. We love that. And Gary too. Where's Gary? Gary, I'm going to clip this.
He watched my video. He saw the charts. He got upset. He said, charts. I'm sick of the
clipping. Charts. I'm going to tag both Gary and Matt Ancini in this clip and send it to both of them as soon as we're done, and say, "Look, both of y'all, you're here. You could have been on. We love you. Why did you leave us? Was the
Yeah.
oatmeal that good, Gary? And Cini was did Austin Evans call your name and you had to run? Like, what happened? Why did you both leave?"
Luke Miani wasn't even here, so we're
Yeah,
gonna call him out the most.
exactly,
What
Miani.
happened, Luke?
Damn it, Luke. All right, look, we're out. We'll talk to you guys and girls next week. We appreciate you so much. Later.